Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something I think a lot of you are going to find really interesting today, co-coaching in athletics. We've got some great guidelines, actually, from Athletics Australia. They've started a new program to help coaches team up, and we'll be talking all about it, so let's jump in. So I guess the first question is, why would coaches need a partner? Isn't coaching kind of like a solo gig?
Well, not always. You have to think about it. Coaches these days, they wear so many hats, right? They're not just like teaching technique. They're mentors. They're strategists, motivators, sometimes even like counselors for their athletes. It's a lot for one person to handle, especially when you're trying to help athletes reach like peak performance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's where this idea of co-coaching comes in, like having a co-pilot,
Yeah.
someone to share the responsibility with, bounce ideas off of, get different perspectives. And Athletics Australia seems to agree. Their new program is all about pairing coaches up, and the goal is shared success and better athlete development. What I think is really fascinating is that they've got a structured process for actually matching these coaching pairs, right? It's not just random.
No, not at all. And that's so important for making these partnerships actually work. They start by evaluating each coach's skills and their experience, but also, and this is key, their coaching philosophy.
Okay, now hold on. Can we break down this coaching philosophy thing for a second? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so basically it's about a coach's fundamental beliefs about how athletes should be trained and developed. It includes their approach to like communication, discipline, motivation, competition, all those core values that kind of guide their coaching style.
So, like, if one coach is all about, like, super disciplined drill sergeant style,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is more about positive reinforcement and, gentle encouragement, could that cause some friction?
Definitely. That's why Athletics Australia is so careful about matching coaches with philosophies that actually align. They also look at more practical things like location and availability, the
Yeah.
level of athletes they coach. It's all about finding the right fit, really.
That's like a matchmaking service, but for coaches.
I love that. Okay, so once they've found a potential match, what happens? Do they just like throw them together and say, good luck?
Not quite. They facilitate these introductory meetings where the coaches can get to know each other, discuss their expectations, and just make sure there's good chemistry. And they even offer resources and support to help the partnerships, actually thrive.
It seems like good communication is at the heart of this whole co-coaching thing, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Clear and open communication is like the foundation of any successful partnership, and co-coaching is no exception. All right, so let's dive into the benefits then. Why is co-coaching such a good idea? What are the advantages that Athletics Australia is highlighting? They talk about things like shared workload, diverse expertise, more flexibility in training schedules, peer learning, even community building among coaches. So it's kind of a win-win situation, right?
Mhm.
It makes coaching more manageable, more enjoyable for the coaches, and it boosts the experience for the athletes.
Exactly. It creates this more sustainable and supportive environment for everyone involved.
You mentioned something about creating a more holistic training experience earlier. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why is that so important, particularly in athletics? And how does co-coaching help?
Well, in athletics, you're not just training the body, you're training the mind as well. Athletes need to develop, like, technical skills, tactical awareness, mental resilience, even emotional intelligence to perform at their best. And a solo coach might be great at, say, one or two of these areas, but might not have the bandwidth or the expertise to really address all of them effectively.
Oh, I see what you mean. So having two coaches with complementary skills and perspectives
Yeah.
can create this like more well-rounded training program.
Exactly. It addresses all aspects of an athlete's development.
And that's what you mean by this holistic approach. You're nurturing the whole athlete,
Precisely.
not just focusing on physical performance. Do you have like a real-life example of how this plays out?
Yeah, actually. The material mentions Katie Edwards and Melinda Gainsford Taylor, who co-coached Paralympian Molly Lovell. They brought different strengths to the partnership. Katie focused more on the technical aspects, and Melinda was incredible at building confidence and mental toughness. And this combination was really successful. Molly actually ended up winning a bronze medal.
Wow, that's incredible. Bronze medal, that's amazing. What stands out to you about their story?
I think it's really inspiring how the partnership not only helped Molly develop athletically, but also, like, personally. It shows the impact co-coaching can have on an athlete's journey.
It's a testament to collaboration and shared expertise, that's for sure. Clearly, co-coaching can create this incredibly supportive and empowering environment for athletes. But I think we also need to talk about the challenges, right? Because like any partnership, there can be bumps in the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not a magic solution. It requires work, and it can definitely encounter obstacles.
Okay, so let's unpack some of those challenges in the next part of our deep dive.
I think one of the biggest challenges, and we kind of touched on this already, is communication.
Yeah, it does seem like clear communication is just like essential. It's the foundation of any co-coaching partnership.
Absolutely. And Athletics Australia, they really stress this. They encourage coaches to set up like really clear communication guidelines right from the start. Things like scheduling regular check-in meetings, maybe even daily, just to discuss, training plans, how the athletes are progressing, any issues that come up.
That makes a lot of sense. It's all about being proactive. What about those times, though, when disagreements, they're bound to happen, right? How do they equip coaches to handle conflict, to do it in a way that's constructive?
Well, they offer training in conflict resolution, specifically focused on active listening, trying to understand different perspectives, and finding solutions that work for both sides. It's about creating that space where coaches feel comfortable voicing their concerns and working through things together.
So it's not about avoiding conflict altogether. It's more about having the right tools to actually manage it.
Exactly. And, if the coaches can't work it out on their own, Athletics Australia actually has a process for bringing in someone neutral, like a mediator, to help.
Okay, that's good to know that there's like a safety net there.
Yeah.
Another potential challenge I can see is like workload. How do you make sure one coach isn't carrying way more than the other?
That's a great question, and it's a valid concern. Again, it comes back to, open and honest communication. Athletics Australia, they really recommend having these upfront conversations about how the workload is going to be shared and to reassess as needed. And they also provide tools like templates for tracking time, responsibilities, so it's easier to see if things are getting out of balance.
It's like those checks and balances, making sure things stay fair. Are there any other like potential downsides, things we haven't really talked about yet?
There are a few. Some coaches worry about losing their individual coaching identity or feeling overshadowed when they're working so closely with another person.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It's like you're merging your styles in a way, but you don't want one person to just like disappear into the background.
Right, and Athletics Australia, they address this directly. They emphasize the importance of really celebrating each coach's unique strengths and what they bring to the table. They encourage coaches to see the partnership as a way to actually enhance their own style, not diminish it.
So it's about creating that synergy, right? Where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Exactly. Another thing that comes up is the potential for inconsistent feedback to the athletes if the coaches have slightly different approaches.
Right, because you don't want them getting mixed messages.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want. So Athletics Australia recommends that they actually develop a shared feedback system where the coaches talk regularly about what they're seeing and agree on a consistent way to deliver feedback, even if their individual styles are a little different.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You want that guidance to be clear and consistent. It seems like they've really thought of everything. Do you have any final thoughts for coaches who might be thinking about, giving coaching a try?
I'd say go for it. It's an amazing opportunity to learn from someone else, to collaborate, to create a more supportive and rewarding experience for yourself and your athletes. It might not always be easy, but I think the potential benefits are huge.
I totally agree. So it sounds like co-coaching has the potential to be a real game changer, not just in athletics, but, in other areas as well. It's about collaboration, sharing what you know, creating a more sustainable and supportive environment for everyone. And in the end, it's about making things better for the athletes. But we've also seen it's not like a quick fix. It takes planning, communication, and a shared vision. It's great that organizations like Athletics Australia are really taking the lead on this, providing that structure and support to make these partnerships work. As you continue to explore coaching, or really any field where people work together, keep in mind the power of partnership, how important it is to communicate clearly, and the amazing things that can happen when people team up to reach a common goal. Keep diving deep, and you never know, maybe you'll be inspired to start your own collaborative adventure. Until next time.
So yeah, like we said, there are some potential downsides to co-coaching.
Right, like those risks we talked about earlier. Okay, well, let's dig into those. What are some of those challenges, and how can they be, overcome?
Well, I think communication is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, it seems like we keep coming back to that. It's so important.
It really is the foundation of any successful partnership, co-coaching or otherwise.
Okay, so how does Athletics Australia actually help coaches with this?
They provide a lot of guidance on how to establish clear communication practices right from the beginning, like having regular check-in meetings, even daily if needed, to discuss training plans, athlete progress, any concerns that come up.
So it's all about being proactive and staying in sync.
Exactly.
Now, disagreements are bound to happen, right? Even with the best communication, people are going to have different opinions sometimes. So how do they equip coaches to actually handle conflict?
They offer training on conflict resolution techniques, focusing on active listening, understanding different perspectives, finding those win-win solutions.
So it's less about avoiding conflict and more about knowing how to work through it.
That's it.
Okay, what about the workload? How do they make sure one coach isn't shouldering more than their fair share?
That's another area where they provide a lot of support. They encourage open and honest conversations about workload from day one. And to regularly reassess as things change, they even provide tools for tracking time and responsibilities.
So there's a system for accountability.
Yeah,
Are
exactly.
there any other potential downsides that we should talk about?
Let me think. Oh, yeah. Sometimes coaches worry about losing their individual coaching identity. Like when you're working so closely with someone, you kind of merge styles, right?
Right,
And they might worry about getting overshadowed.
that makes sense.
So Athletics Australia emphasizes celebrating each coach's unique strengths and what they bring to the partnership.
So it's about adding to each other, not taking away.
Yeah, it's about creating that synergy where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
I love that.
Another concern is the potential for inconsistent feedback to the athletes if the coaches have slightly different approaches.
Oh, yeah. Mixed messages can be so confusing.
Right.
So how do they address that?
They recommend that the coaches develop a shared feedback system where they communicate regularly about what they're seeing and agree on a consistent approach for delivering feedback.
Okay, so even if their styles are a little bit different, the message to the athletes is unified.
Exactly.
It seems like they've really covered all the bases here. They've really thought this through.
They have.
Do you have any final words of wisdom for coaches who might be considering this whole coaching thing?
I would say definitely give it a try. It's a chance to learn, to collaborate, to create a more supportive and rewarding experience for everyone involved. It might not always be easy, but the potential rewards are huge.
I think that's a great note to end on. Co-coaching is a powerful model for collaboration, not just in athletics, but in all kinds of fields. It's about recognizing that we can achieve more when we work together, sharing our knowledge, our skills, our different perspectives. And it's about creating a more supportive and sustainable environment for everyone so we can all thrive. So as you continue to explore your own path, whatever that may be, keep in mind the power of partnership. Keep diving deep, keep learning, keep connecting, and who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to embark on your own collaborative adventure. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of co-coaching. Until next time.